Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on the program, consumers need to brace for even higher prices of red onions as its suggested retail price may be raised to 250 pesos. But the Agriculture Department insists importing onions is still not an option. Agriculture Assistant Secretary Kristine Evangelista joins us in the program. And later, how is the government addressing numerous concerns on the rollout of the SIM registration law? Information and Communications Technology Undersecretary Ana May Lamentillo will also be joining us. Before we go to our top story, first, groups have expressed interest in bidding for the EDSA busway privatization. This as the 24/7 free rides will have its last run on December 31st, Saturday. The Libreng Sakay program was implemented in 2020 at the height of the pandemic to aid the transport sector. Under this, drivers get payouts from the government regardless of the number of passengers. Details from our senior correspondent, George Cahiles.
Congratulations!
The 17th station of EDSA Carousel was opened at Tramo, Pasay City Wednesday morning. Transportation Secretary Jimmy Bautista took the opportunity to announce his plan to privatize the EDSA busway operations next year. Bautista says there are private groups expressing interest to operate the system, but the DOTR has yet to receive their proposals.
Gusto natin, kung ipaprivatize natin to, talagang yung gagawin ng private sector will conform to international standards. No? Sigurado, dapat yung mga pasahero natin hindi nababasa pag umuulan, hindi masyadong naiinitan kung mainit ang panahon. No? So, siguro dapat maging komportable sila.
Bus operators are on a wait-and-see mode in relation to the plan to privatize the EDSA Carousel operations and maintenance. They also intend to study the plan carefully since the concept is new to them.
May mga proponent na gusto na kaming makausap, may mga konting explanation, and parang nag-aaral kami ngayon what will be the impact of that ng privatization.
The EDSA Carousel has an average daily passenger of 320 to 350,000. And as the government's Libreng Sakay program ends on January 1, the DOTR expects ridership will go down. The DOTR says passengers may just transfer to the MRT3. As of now, the minimum fare for an air-conditioned bus is 15 pesos, while at the MRT3, regular fare is from 13 to 28 pesos, while it's 10 to 22 pesos for students, persons with disability, and senior citizens.
Ang LTFRB ay nagbibigay ng assurance sa atin na yung pamasahe natin dito ay still affordable. No? Magtutulong-tulungan po ang LTFRB, ang Mega Manila, ang ES Transport, no? Para patuloy na maging maayos ang ating operasyon dito sa EDSA Busway. No?
Babalik kami dun sa normal situation na meron kaming konduktor at may driver at magtitiket. Ngayon, ang magiging base namin ngayon sa paniningil dyan sa bus carousel yung normal na taripa per matrix na binibigay ng LTFRB.
The DOTR says there is a 1.2 billion peso budget for the service contracting program for 2023. But Bautista says they are still studying how they will utilize the fund. He is not disregarding the possibility that a portion of the budget may be used to subsidize the fare of EDSA busway passengers. George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
On to the latest in the aftermath of the heavy flooding over the Christmas weekend. The death toll has risen to 32. That's according to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Of these, only 4 have been verified. Other casualties have yet to be validated. Meanwhile, the number of missing individuals stands at 24, while 11 people were injured. Majority of the missing are fishermen from Bicol and Eastern Visayas. Misamis Oriental is one of the towns hardest hit by the heavy downpour during the holiday weekend and days before New Year. How are residents coping up with the brunt of devastating rains? Our Catherine Cruz tells us more.
In Barangay Minalwang, we came across Bernaldo and his family. They were busy cleaning their home following a landslide. Bernaldo says the slide happened at night. At first, they thought it was just a truck passing by. It was his wife who saw the mud and debris coming their way. Fortunately, he and his wife only suffered minor injuries. Along with their children, they quickly fled to his mother's house.
Kung matapos na po yung daan na yan, magtitira po ulit dito. Kapag maganda na yung araw, pag tag-ulan na po, aalis na po ulit. Kasi may bahay naman po ng nanay ko doon sa mga safe na area. Kasi po wala naman po ibang matitirahan po eh.
May reported two person injuries at ma'am kahapon nakuha ng Philippine Army. Yung nakatira doon, andun sa family nila ngayon, doon sa barangay Minalwang, ma'am. Kasi pumunta kami doon kahapon, ma'am, inassess namin. Safe naman sila, ma'am.
According to the Claveria DRRMO, clearing operations started on Tuesday, but non-stop rains delayed the job. It's possible clearing could last into the new year. The road leading to the site of the landslide is still closed. It is not safe to pass through. According to the provincial administrator of Misamis Oriental, the cost of damage to their province is pegged at 1 billion pesos, and they're already preparing plans for the rehabilitation of damaged infrastructure. The provincial government is also ready to extend help to residents affected by flooding.
Lahat ng mga ayuda ibigay namin dito, from food packs, yung mga financial na mga interventions namin. Nag-iikot na ngayon si Governor at nagbibigay lahat ng mga ayuda, food packs and all other na mga interventions for our evacuees.
The local government hopes for good weather in the coming days so the nearly 12,000 families who are still in evacuation centers can welcome 2023 in their own homes. Catherine Cruz, CNN Philippines.
In other news, hospitals are gearing up for firecracker-related injuries this new year. Zian Arcangel tells us a hospital in Quezon City is all set to treat these cases.
3 days before the New Year celebrations, surgical instruments are already laid out at the emergency room of the East Avenue Medical Center. There's a saw for bones, a mallet, and a clamp. Bottles of alcohol are on tables. Hospital beds have been made. All these for the expected firecrackers and fireworks-related injuries. Since December 1 until Wednesday, the hospital so far has not treated any fireworks injuries. But Dr. John Paul Nur expects the influx of patients in the final hours of 2022 until January 1st.
Meron kami mga gamit dito para i-address yung mga naputukan. So, yung mga panlinis ng sugat, kung merong mga kailangan tahiin, or yung kahit yung may mga kailangang putulin ng mga daliri, meron kami dito nakaset up. Last year, we had quitties, we had fountain, pero yata sa report ng DOH ngayon, meron ang number 1 yata, boga. So, nag-expect din kami, baka magkaroon din kami ng ganong klase ng injury.
The health department has recorded 32 fireworks injuries nationwide from December 21st until Wednesday, December 28th. In the same period last year, there were only 23 cases. Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte has issued Executive Order No. 54 banning the use of fireworks in private households. Fireworks displays are only allowed in public places with permission from the local government. Dr. Nur advises persons injured by fireworks to wash the wound well with clean water and soap before rushing to the hospital. Vomiting should not be induced for those who swallow Watu-C. Seek doctor's advice on giving egg whites as first aid and head straight to the ER.
Yung iba, di ba, parang may nilalagay muna na parang pang first aid. So, ang ina-advise namin, walang ilagay doon. Just clean it with water, preferably. Kung merong soap, pwede din. Tapos dalhin na agad nila dito sa hospital.
Aside from fireworks injuries, the hospital is preparing for other medical emergencies linked to New Year celebrations like stroke and trauma.
We seen an increased case of people having stroke, tsaka yung may mga hypertension. So because maybe it's the holiday, maraming party, maybe it's lifestyle na rin.
The doctor advises the public to refrain from using fireworks and eat in moderation during the Medianoche for a healthy and safe start to 2023. Cian Arcangel, CNN Philippines.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Agriculture Assistant Secretary Kristine Evangelista joins us now. ASEC, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning to all your televiewers.
Okay, let's talk about the SRP for red onions. From 170 pesos per kilo, now it may reach 250 pesos starting December 30. Now, is this final, ASEC, and why was such a recommendation made after your meeting with stakeholders?
As of now, this is a recommendation based on our stakeholders meeting yesterday. We are waiting for the final approval and we are working on the details on how we can implement this 250 peso per kilo onions in the wet market. So right now, that is what we're working on. Aside from putting a price, is also finding the source, because we'd like to have and help our retailers have a source of which they can sell the commodity based on the suggested retail price, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the SRP is not the actual price on the ground, because if you go around in markets, it's between 600 to even 700 pesos per kilo. Can you explain the discrepancy?
Yes, ma'am. Based on our monitoring, we've seen the spike of the price of onions. So what we did was to talk to our producers, because we've received reports that the farm gate price has greatly increased, thus affecting the retail prices. So during our stakeholders meeting, we were able to thresh out the reasons behind the increase in the farm gate price, but we were also able to come up with an agreement as far as farm gate prices are concerned, of which it will always be protecting our producers and an equitable price that will be fair for our consumers. So we know that as far as the value chain is concerned, we have the producers, we have what we call the viajeros, and then the tinderas. And the retail price is actually what we see in the palenques. So now that we have a commitment from our producers to bring down the farm gate price, that will definitely have an effect on the retail. And with that, we came up with an SRP. This is a recommendation, and we are hoping to finalize it within the day, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. But are you looking into price manipulation? Because people are saying somebody clearly is making a killing here because overpriced nga yung presyo ng ating red onions.
Yes, ma'am. Lahat po ng anggulo'y tinitingnan natin in the same manner that we are also looking at all other options, no, to be able to provide agricultural commodities and at an affordable price. So yung angle of price manipulation is something that we are looking into. We have a team that will investigate that. And what happens during an SRP is that our tinderas will be given, if they cannot comply with the suggested retail price, they will declare where they bought the commodity they are selling, and with that we can establish a trail and we can see which trader is selling commodities to our retailers at a very high price.
Mm-hmm. Well, ang sabi po ni DA spokesperson Rex Esto Perez, he already said you're not keen to authorize the importation of red onions. But can the DA guarantee enough supply and that prices will soon stabilize?
Yes, the reason why Sir Rex mentioned that position regarding importation is also to protect the harvest of our producers. And we know for a fact that by the time, especially mid-January, we expect expect a better harvest, and we don't want importation to come during that time. That is something that we are trying to avoid. Although because of the spike of prices, then we had to explore importations again. But basically, on our meeting yesterday, with the commitment of our farmers to bring down the farm gate price, and then we are looking again in consistently eliminating layers of traders and making sure our traders also have margins that are fair as far as our retailers and our consumers are concerned. So the direction right now is really to temper the prices by having an SRP that is acceptable to everyone in the value chain.
So by mid-January, with the harvest, are we expecting lower prices of onions? And by how much will the prices be lowered kaya?
Well, ma'am, the SRP that we are recommending is going to be effective up to the first week of January. And then we will have a meeting again because, as you said, you are correct. We expect lower prices. By then, we can give you an update on the farm gate price and the volume of production that we have, because that will definitely affect the retail prices of our onions.
Well, may penalty po ba, ma'am, ang magbebenta ng mas mataas sa SRP? Kasi there's a question on how you will enforce this SRP.
Well, the penalty will, I think, be the source, no? If it's the trader, because that's going to be the reason behind the price manipulation. Our tinderas, what we ask from them is a show cause. They have to tell us the reason bakit ganyan yung presyo ng kanilang sibuyas na binibenta. By doing so, they will be forced to tell us kung sino ang kanilang binibilhan ng produkto. So the adjudication team, again, will focus on what can be done if there is a trader manipulating and if there is a trader who is dictating the prices kung sa palengke. That's why we, I think, believe that it is very important that our retailers will also work with us, and I think we can do this better with the Local Price Coordinating Council, of which the LGUs play a very important role, ma'am.
Well, clearly there are imperfections in the system, ano po, as acknowledged by spokesperson Esto Perez, and there's also a need to provide better interventions, especially in the value chain. Now, how is the DA going to implement these interventions?
Well, right now we have the kadiwa. No, this is one of the interventions, but this is we are letting our farmers sell directly to consumers. As a matter of fact, December 30 and 31, we will have kadiwa on wheels in 5 cities in Metro Manila. It will be going from one barangay to another, selling onions at 170 pesos per kilo. So this is the price that we have no middleman, and the government will be shouldering costs of logistics and other costs to be able to lower down the price. We are also capacitating our farmer cooperatives to take the roles of the trader. By doing so, then we can again lower the prices. There should be safety nets as far as margins are concerned. In the same manner that we have an SRP for retail, we are looking at providing a farm gate price, a price ceiling and a floor price also, because we've seen in the past that there are times our farmers would sell their commodities at a very, very low price. And that will definitely affect their funds for the next planting season, and we are trying to avoid that. So there are several areas of the value chain that we are addressing by capacitating our farmer cooperatives to take more roles, and at the same time putting safety nets as far as all the other players are concerned.
Of course, aside from logistics, there should be interventions in terms of credit and transportation, and also sa cold storage facilities.
Yes. Those are part of our programs in the Department of Agriculture. We have been giving trucks to our farmer cooperatives so they can do the logistics themselves, the transportation. Credit is also there. We are strengthening our grants for their trading capital. The cold storage facilities is something we have to strengthen, because we've also seen that our farmers, are forced to sell their produce at a very low price because they cannot afford storage fees. So putting cold storage facilities in strategically located areas is part of our direction for 2023, ma'am.
All right, Asik, I have to ask this. Did we prepare enough Kasi po ang sabi ng isang farmers group, the DA's lack of foresight is to blame at dapat daw yung importation was done in August, so we are assured of steady supply in December. Your reaction to this?
We are working on a better system as far as inventory is concerned. We have been focused on the supply outlook wherein we are looking at the yield of our farmers, but now we are also going to put emphasis as far as storage is concerned, because one of the things that we were faced with was that where are the onions? Like we were faced with an oversupply of onions sometime in April, and it was bought by traders, placed in cold storage facilities, and the next thing we knew was we are trying to find where these onions are. Our Bureau of Plant Industry was very much focused on the yield and helping our farmers produce more. But definitely we've seen that it's not enough to produce more. What is also important is to make sure that these commodities are sold at an affordable price. That is part of the value chain that we will definitely work on. And we have different units in the department. We have the high value for production, and logistics is being looked into. And we admit that needs to be strengthening, and hopefully in 2023 that is part of our plans as well.
What about smuggling, ASEC? When are we finally going to put an end to smuggling? And have you already filed cases? At ano po ang nangyari doon sa mga kasong yon?
Smuggling, yes, ma'am. Our ASEC for Field Inspectorate, ASEC James Layog, has had several leads as far as smuggling is concerned. And I think we would see that in the latter part of this year, what has been a problem for the longest time, of which we were trying to engage BOC, was finally, we've seen that the containers have been opened, and we've seen smuggled items being seized and confiscated. And the intel of ASEC James Layog was really something that we are now very proud of, because that also helped the BOC fix a problem that has been there for the longest time. We will continue to do this because agricultural smuggling definitely affects our producers. And again, when we look at the SRP, if I may go back, if we look at the SRP and we try to check where it's coming from, why is the prices this way, then we go back to traders, then we try to see the source of all this. And I think that's also where our Field Inspectorate Assistant Secretary will also focus. So there are two areas. One is agricultural smuggling, and the other is price manipulation. While he is doing that, other areas like production will keep trying to increase the harvest of our producers, and the agribusiness and marketing will find solutions to be able to capacitate our farmers to be able to sell their produce directly to the market.
All right, ma'am, we still have to talk about the other commodities, but we have to take a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Stay tuned. You're watching The Source. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Our source today, Assistant Secretary Kristine Evangelista of the Department of Agriculture. Now, ASEC, let's now go to rice. Is there enough supply of rice, especially as we prepare to bring in the new year? At ang sabi po ng Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura o SINAG, we're expecting a price hike by about 2 pesos per kilo. Is this correct, ma'am?
As far as the supply situation is concerned, the data we have in the Department of Agriculture is that we are sufficient until the first quarter of the year. Now, as far as price point is concerned, I think there are going to be price adjustments because of the cost of fertilizers and other agricultural inputs. There was an increase there, definitely, that will affect the price points of our farmers. So we are working closely with SINAG as well to be able to find interventions that would be appropriate to help our farmers produce more and bring down their cost of production, ma'am.
Very quickly, ma'am, because we have a minute left. Pork prices are these stable for now?
Yes, ma'am. They're stable, and we've had a meeting with the hog raisers, and their supply is better as compared to the previous years. So we are looking into a very sufficient, locally sufficient pork for this remaining of the years until next year, we are also strengthening the repopulation in certain areas.
Let's now go to sugar. Ano po ang update natin sa sugar prices?
Well, the sugar price right now in our price monitoring, we still see that there is a 95 peso sugar in some wet markets up to 110. In Kadiwa, we are selling it at 70 pesos per kilo. We are working closely with SRA, and we will get an update with regard to the supply situation, because we know that local supply has improved a lot. So that will help us also determine what strategy to put into action to be able to bring down the cost of sugar as well. But that will be something that we have to work closely with SRA, ma'am.
All right, thank you for your time this morning. I know you're very busy. Happy New Year to you, ma'am.
Happy New Year, ma'am. Thank you also for this opportunity. Good morning.
Okay, Agriculture Assistant Secretary Kristine Evangelista. Unfortunately, DICT Undersecretary Ana May Lamentillo is unable to join us this time. But thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Mai Rodriguez. You're watching CNN Philippines.